Have you ever felt that small, almost polite tap on your fishing line? Not a violent strike. Not the kind that bends your rod in half. Just a light tick. A tiny signal that something down there touched your bait. Your eyes lock on the rod tip. It dips once, maybe twice. Your heart starts beating faster. You grip the handle tighter. You set the hook firm and confident. You reel in quickly, and there's nothing there. No weight, no resistance, no fight. Just a clean hook. The bait is gone, and you are left standing there, staring at the water, wondering what just happened. You replay the moment in your head. You felt it. You know you felt it. So why is the hook empty? Was it too early? Too late? Was the fish small? Was it just weeds? Or is something else going on? Most anglers respond the same way. They start questioning everything except the one thing that actually matters. They question their rod. Maybe they need something more sensitive. They question their reel. Maybe the drag isn't right. They question their line. Maybe it's too thick, too visible. They question the water temperature, the moon phase, the season, the pressure, the fishing spot. They even start thinking they need expensive imported lures from overseas because maybe the fish have seen everything else. But what if the answer is much simpler than all of that? What if the reason you keep losing fish has nothing to do with equipment? What if it has everything to do with how you place your bait on the hook? There is a method, a quiet method, a method that does not rely on expensive gear, a method that does not rely on flashy colors or loud marketing. It relies on understanding how fish actually behave. For generations, fishermen in remote creeks, farm ponds, mountain streams, and quiet lakes understood something that modern anglers often overlook. They understood that presentation is everything. Not noise, not flash, not speed. Presentation. Old fishermen in places like the Ozarks and the Appalachian Hills passed down simple lessons to their children. These were not lessons found in textbooks. They were not taught in seminars. They were taught beside the water. One of those lessons was this: hide the hook. It sounds almost too simple, but simple does not mean weak. Simple often means powerful. Somewhere along the way, fishing culture shifted. Gear became the focus. New technology entered the scene. Marketing became louder, and quietly the basics faded into the background. But fish did not change. Their instincts did not evolve to match marketing trends. A fish that survives long enough to grow large has avoided danger thousands of times. Hooks, nets, birds, other fish, shadows, strange vibrations. Every day is survival, and survival sharpens instinct. When a fish approaches your bait, it does not blindly attack. It inspects, it tests, it evaluates in a fraction of a second. Most people do not realize how fish actually eat. They do not chew like we do. They do not bite and hold like a dog. They create suction. They open their mouths rapidly and pull water inward. Anything near that mouth gets drawn inside. This happens in less than a blink of an eye. Inside that split second, the fish feels everything. The softness of the bait, the shape, the density, and most importantly, the presence of metal. If a hook point is exposed even slightly, it changes the feel. Metal is hard, metal is cold, metal is unnatural. When the fish senses that unnatural feel, it does not debate. It reacts. It spits the bait out instantly. That tiny tap you feel on your rod, that is often not a full bite. It is a test, and most anglers fail that test without even knowing it. The standard method that many people use looks harmless. They push the hook through the middle of a worm. They leave the point slightly exposed. They toss it into the water. It looks fine to the human eye, but underwater, it is not fine. That exposed hook glints in light. It stiffens the bait. It changes how the bait moves. The worm no longer drifts naturally. It hangs. The dough bait no longer feels soft all the way through. It has a hard center. The live bait no longer swims freely. It struggles awkwardly, and the fish senses that something is wrong. It might nibble. It might steal part of the bait. It might give you that small tick, but it will not commit. You reel in empty, and you blame the fish. You call it a bait thief. You call it bad luck, but it is not luck. It is presentation. Now imagine something different. Imagine that the hook is completely hidden, not barely covered, not slightly tucked in, completely buried inside the bait. When the fish looks at your offering, it sees only food. When it sucks it in, it feels only softness. No sharp edges, no hard metal, no warning signal. For that split second, everything feels safe. And that is all it takes. Japanese anglers have long understood this importance of subtle presentation. They focus on precision. They focus on how bait looks, how it moves, and how it feels. They take extra time shaping dough bait carefully. They thread worms in a way that keeps them straight and natural. They hook live bait so that movement remains realistic and unforced. They are not in a rush. They understand that fishing is patience. When you slow down and rig bait properly, something changes. Your mindset shifts. You stop hoping. You start preparing. Let's talk about the worm again, because it is one of the most common baits used everywhere. Most people stab it once and let it dangle. Instead, start at the head. Slide the hook through slowly. Work it gently along the body. Do not tear it apart. Keep the worm straight along the shank of the hook. When you reach near the tail, bring the hook point out just enough to reposition, then bury it back inside. Leave a small section of tail free. That small movement in the water matters. Fish respond to life. They respond to subtle motion. Now imagine a fish approaching that worm. It does not see flashing metal. It sees a natural crawler drifting with the current. It moves in. It opens its mouth. Suction pulls the worm inside. For a moment, everything feels normal. By the time the worm shifts and the hook point becomes exposed inside the mouth, the fish is already committed. When you set the hook, it drives solidly into the lip or jaw. Not skin hooked, not barely attached, solid. That is the difference between hoping and understanding. The same principle applies to live bait. Hooking a shiner through the mouth may be easy, but it restricts movement. It can also expose metal in unnatural ways. Instead, carefully insert the hook behind the dorsal fin. Avoid the spine. Let the hook sit under the skin. The fish can swim. It can move naturally. From a distance, it looks like an injured baitfish. And injured baitfish are irresistible to predators. Again, no flashing warning sign, no stiff, unnatural posture, just food. When using dough bait, avoid compressing it into a tight, hard ball. Fish feel density changes. Keep it soft. Shape it into a smooth form. Press the hook into the center. Wrap the bait around it evenly. Firm enough to stay on during the cast. Soft enough to break apart when pressure is applied. Because here is something many anglers overlook. When a fish sucks in bait and begins to close its mouth, the internal pressure and movement naturally shift the bait. That shifting exposes the hook point at the perfect moment. You do not need the hook point exposed from the beginning. You need it exposed at the right time. That is the secret. That is the method. And that method increases your hookup rate dramatically. With exposed hooking, you might land 1 out of 5 true bites. With concealed hooking, you may land nearly every real bite. The fish either commits fully or leaves it alone. No more partial steals, no more frustration, no more wondering. Fishing becomes calmer, more controlled, more predictable. Now, does this take more time? Yes. Maybe 10 seconds, maybe 15. But ask yourself something honest. Would you rather save 10 seconds and lose the biggest fish of your life? Or spend those extra seconds and give yourself the best possible chance? Fishing rewards patience. Rushing the setup defeats the purpose. The difference between average anglers and consistent anglers is rarely gear. It is attention to detail. Small details repeated over and over, cast after cast, day after day, and concealed hooking is one of those details. Most American anglers chase speed. They chase upgrades. They chase trends. But the fundamentals still win. The quiet fundamentals. The kind that are not flashy. The kind that do not come in shiny packaging. The kind that require patience. The next time you feel that light tap on your line, imagine it differently. Imagine the fish sucking in the bait. Imagine it feeling nothing but soft, natural texture. Imagine it committing. You set the hook. The rod bends deeply. The weight stays there. The fish pulls hard, but it does not shake free. Because the hook is set deep, locked, secure. That is not luck. That is preparation meeting opportunity. And once you experience that solid connection consistently, you will never rush your bait again. You will never leave metal flashing in open water again. You will slow down. You will hide the hook. You will respect presentation. And your results will change. Somewhere right now, a fisherman is standing on a quiet bank. The water is still. The sun is low. He casts out. He feels a tap. He jerks too soon. Reels in. Bare hook. He sighs. Blames small fish. Blames the lake. Blames luck. But a few feet away, another angler makes the same cast. Same water. Same fish. Different preparation. His bait was aligned. Threaded with intention. Balanced. His hook was sharp. Partially concealed. Gap clean. He feels the same tap. He waits. Another pulse. Then wait. He tightens steadily. The rod bends. This time, the fish is connected. Not because he found a secret lure. Not because he had special bait. Not because he got lucky. Because 10 seconds before the cast, he chose precision over speed. That's the difference. The Japanese baiting method isn't exotic. It isn't mystical. It's disciplined fundamentals executed without compromise. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Most anglers don't lose fish because they lack knowledge. They lose fish because they rush. They rush the rig. They rush the hook set. They rush the process. And rushing always creates weakness somewhere in the system. Fish expose weakness every time. They test. They compress. They analyze. And if your presentation fails under that pressure, the opportunity disappears in less than a second. But when your bait holds structure, when your hook stays aligned, when nothing shifts unnaturally under compression, the fish commits. That commitment is earned before the cast ever lands. Think about that. Before the splash, before the sink, before the bite. The result was already influenced by how you rigged the bait. Fishing rewards those who respect small details. Millimeters matter. Angles matter. Tension matters. 10 seconds matter. Most people are looking for something revolutionary. But mastery is rarely revolutionary. It's repetitive, quiet, intentional. The anglers who consistently catch more fish aren't always louder. They aren't always buying the newest gear. They aren't always chasing the next trend. They are refining the fundamentals other people overlook. And bait placement is one of the most overlooked fundamentals in modern fishing. Because it isn't exciting. It doesn't photograph well. It doesn't trend. But it works. Now imagine your next trip. You slow down. You thread your worm deliberately. You secure your dough properly. You balance your live bait and test its posture. You check your hook point. You cast with confidence. You feel a tap. You wait, then steady pressure. And instead of reeling in a clean hook, you feel life on the other end. That's not theory. That's mechanics meeting patience. And once you experience that shift, once you see fewer empty hooks and more solid hook sets, you'll never rush the rig again. Because you'll understand something most anglers never internalize. The cast does not begin when the bait hits the water. It begins in your hands. The secret was never forbidden. It was ignored. The method was never hidden. It was just disciplined. And discipline is rare. So the next time you're on the water, ask yourself one question before every cast. Am I rushing or am I preparing? Because in fishing, just like in anything worth mastering, the smallest details decide the biggest outcomes. Slow down, rig with intention, fish with patience, and let precision do what hype never could.